Senator Clinton, I just want to make sure what I heard. Do you, the New York Senator, Hillory Clinton, support the New York governor's plan to give illegal immigrants a driver's license? You told the National New Hampshire paper it made a lot of sense. Do you support his plan?
You know, Tim, this is where everybody plays gotcha. It makes a lot of sense. What is the governor supposed to do? He is dealing with a serious problem. We have failed, and George Bush has failed. Do I think this is the best thing for any governor to do? No.
That was Hillary Clinton in a famous debate moment back in October of 2007, flailing as Tim Russert tried to pin her down on her position on driver's licenses for undocumented immigrants. And many people feel that that's the moment when the wheels started to come off Clinton's campaign for the presidency in 2008. During that race, she came under fire for giving answers that seemed vague, maybe contradictory, not being clear, not being specific on all of the issues. Now, so far in this race, Clinton has managed to avoid making a similar mistake, but this is the part of the campaign where she actually is now going to start to get some competition. A little more than an hour from now, former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley will be throwing his hat in the ring. More on that in just a little bit. O'Malley following Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont, who announced his own bid on Tuesday and has already begun drawing large crowds as he hits the campaign trail. Reporting this week from Politico suggests that Clinton insiders are worried about the challenge posed by Sanders. Frightened is the word they even used. Not that he would win the nomination, actually defeat her for that, but that he could damage her with the activist base by challenging her on core progressive issues in debates, making her look like a centrist, somebody who the base doesn't necessarily get excited about. Well, here now to take a look at some of those positions that the Clinton campaign could be frightened of taking stands on is Mark Murray, senior political editor with NBC News. He joins me here at the big board. Big board. So, Mark, welcome to New York. Thank you for coming in. So we've got 4 issues here we want to go through with you where Bernie Sanders, maybe Martin O'Malley, maybe one of the other challengers could really press Hillary Clinton the way we saw her pressed on that driver's license issue back in 2007. So let's take a look. The first one up on the screen here is the trade deal, the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Let's first listen to what Hillary Clinton and what Bernie Sanders are saying about that right now.
You just asked the question about Hillary Clinton, and you were pretty tough on her for not having a stance about the trade deal.
I think it's important for Secretary Clinton and all candidates, not just Secretary Clinton, to have an opinion on the issue. You could be for it, you could be against it. I'm against it.
I want to judge the final agreement. I have been for trade agreements. I have been against trade agreements. I've tried to make the evaluation depending upon what I thought they would produce, and that's what I'm waiting to see.
So you got a clear no from Bernie Sanders there. I'm picturing this debate a few months from now. How long can she string this out without taking a position?
She can't have too much long, but she's caught between a rock and a hard place here. And so, Steve, the progressive movement and the liberal base is against this free trade agreement, even though President Obama is for it. But then on the other, so you see where the movement is among progressives. On the other hand, when she was Secretary of State, she referred to this deal as a gold standard of free trade agreements. And so in some ways, it's kind of almost a no-win situation for her. And what you're seeing her do right now is basically try not to have a position until the TPA, the Trade Promotion Authority, or Fast Track, gets passed. If it passes the House of Representatives, and right now it looks a bit we have a 50-50 proposition on that. If it passes, she's going to have to be forced. But she's right now taking the point of, boy, if it doesn't pass the House of Representatives, I'm not going to even take a position because it could be moot. But yes, there's no doubt that she's in a very uncomfortable position, maybe more so than all the other issues we're going to go down today.
So she's bought herself a little time.
A little.
Not enough to get through the whole campaign. Let's see what else we have here. So we have the minimum wage here. This has become a big issue on the left, raising the minimum wage. Some say as high as $15 an hour. Let's listen to Sanders and then Clinton on this one.
In the Senate, I'm leading the effort to raise the minimum wage up to $15 an hour so that people who work 40 hours a week will not be living in poverty.
I am very much in favor of raising the minimum wage at the federal level. States and some cities are on their own raising the minimum wage, but I think there needs to be a federal floor. And I believe that the Democrats in the Senate are going to introduce legislation to do just that.
So she's saying she's for raising the minimum wage, but is she going to be forced to get close to that $15 figure that Bernie Sanders is talking about?
I think you're going to probably see her closer to where President Obama is. And in a lot of ways, to look at this Bernie Sanders versus Hillary Clinton dynamic, on most issues, I think Hillary Clinton's going to be in the same position where President Obama is, which in a lot of ways is a sweet spot. Not necessarily when you're always trying to court the progressive left, but mainly when you're talking to getting you ready for a general election, as well as courting most Democratic voters. Bernie Sanders wants to go to $15. It's probably less of a realistic opportunity, given that what President Obama has proposed around $10 has been even on a non-starter on Capitol Hill. So I think we're going to see Hillary Clinton on the minimum wage and some issues go more the Obama route than necessarily the Bernie Sanders. But by Bernie Sanders saying we need to have it at $15, he's championing the left, where he is raising the expectations a little bit for them, kind of raising the bar, which then makes $10 maybe a little bit more palatable.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of looking at it. Let's see what else we have here. This is Citizens United. So this was that Supreme Court ruling. It led all the corporate money, at least potentially, into politics. Let's listen to Bernie Sanders on this, and then Hillary Clinton.
I have said it before, and I'll say it again. I will not nominate any justice to the Supreme Court who has not made it clear that he or she will move to overturn that disastrous decision which is undermining American democracy.
I think the Supreme Court made a grave error with its Citizens United decision. And I will do everything I can do to appoint Supreme Court justices who will protect the right to vote and not the right of billionaires to buy elections.
So here it is. This is the new litmus test, I guess, now for candidates for the Supreme Court. It's, will you overturn Citizens United? So they're both saying yes to that. I guess the difference here, though, is when you talk about coordinating with super PACs, lining up with super PACs, sort of giving them the go-ahead to work on your behalf. Bernie Sanders is saying no, Hillary Clinton saying yes.
But at least on the issues that we've looked at, they're the closest here than they have been on minimum wage or on the trade deal. And this is where the entire Democratic Party is when it comes to Citizens United. You don't hear a single Democrat who says, you know what, Citizens United was a great decision, we should stand beside that. But I think you're right. I mean, this is an amazing litmus test now when you're talking about Supreme Court, not justices. We're not talking about abortion. We're not talking about the health care law. People are saying, where do you stand on Citizens United? And this is a fundamental change from even 2012. I mean, President Obama, in his State of the Union address right after Citizens United, said he disagreed with this. But now, all of a sudden, we're heading into 2015, 2016, and this is the issue when it comes to the Supreme Court that is really energized not only liberals, but the entire Democratic Party.
It's interesting. Well, let's squeeze one more in here. So this is Social Security. Now, this is interesting because so much conversation is typically about, well, do we want to cut it to save the program? You hear that, or do you want to sort of keep it where it is? So let's listen to what Bernie Sanders is saying about this and what that challenge is for Hillary Clinton then.
Instead of cutting Social Security, we are going to expand Social Security benefits.
The Social Security Trust Fund, according to the trustees, will be solvent until 2035. So what do we do to make sure it is there and we don't mess with it and we don't, pretend that it's a luxury, because it's not a luxury?
So they're in two very different places here. Bernie Sanders is saying, let's make this program bigger. Hillary Clinton's basically saying, I just want to kind of keep it status quo. Is she going to be forced more in his direction?
I think I see this as a lot of the minimum wage that we were talking about, where Bernie Sanders is trying to raise the bar and being able to expand Social Security. And then all that comes to, well, how do you pay for it? How does that end up working? Is that even a realistic option? But by him saying we should actually expand Social Security, it forces her where she can't end up taking the position on, you know what, we should actually start reforming entitlements like Social Security. We should end up having some kind of chain CPI that we ended up hearing during the great debates on cutting spending in the government. And so by progressives like Bernie Sanders saying, you know what, we shouldn't even just leave Social Security alone, we need to expand it, he is raising the bar for her and making it very difficult for Democrats to even consider cutting entitlements like Social Security.
All right, and there will be debates. There are 6 of them scheduled now. So Mark Murray, NBC News, thank you for joining us this morning.
Steve.
Really appreciate that.